Hi guys, so today I'm just going to be going over how to do some really basic UI building in Swing with a slider and a drawing panel sort of thing going on. So this is a really good way to get started on builds. CSE 143 Project 5, and I think 8300 has the same project. Basically, what we're going to be building is... And make sure you get your IDE ready if you'd like to code along. But basically, what we're going to be building is something super straightforward. It's just going to be just a slider that makes circles appear on another screen. So you can see how that would be very, very similar to Bill's project. So what you're going to want to do is you want your blank project open, and you're going to want to make a main class, and that's just going to have a main method in it. And you are going to want to make a UI class. So the way I'm going to do it for now is just to have it all in one file and not worry about implementing the whole observer pattern, because it's a little bit of a lot of stuff. So just for this demo, it's just all going to be in one file. And this is not the way you're going to want to do it in Bill's project. You do want to separate it out into I think like 5 classes that Bill wants you to separate it out into. So the first thing you want to do is you have a UI, right? And that UI needs to always extend JFrame, because JFrame is going to be your window, and you want to import that in. You just press Alt Enter and then Enter again, and I'll import that in for you. And then you want to make a constructor, because you want things to happen when that JFrame pops up. So let's think about all the things that need to happen when that JFrame, to configure that JFrame. We're going to want to set the title. And so the title is going to be, let's just call it Circle Slider. And for now, I'm just going to make that the slider UI first, and then I'll make the other UI second, where it actually displays. You're going to want to set the size. This doesn't really matter too much. You can set it to whatever you want. Just set it to something that's usable. I'm going to do 600 by 200 because that just works for me. Then you're going to set the default close operation to exit on close, because that just means that when you press the X button, it's just going to kill the whole program, which is what you want it to do. And then I'm going to set resizable to false, because I don't want to worry about making it responsive to the window size. So what we want to do here is we want to throw a J panel on it, and we'll call that main panel, and it's a new J panel. And we're going to want to take the content pane of the JFrame. So this just get content pane is the same as doing this.get content pane. And you're just getting the content pane of the frame itself, and you're adding the main panel to it. And then I'm going to make a label for the slider, because labels are good. They make it clear what that slider is for. So circles. The first parameter in this is going to be the name, the text that goes into the slider. And if you press Control Q while having your cursor on JLabel, you can see all the different options for the JLabel constructors. And we're going to use this one, I believe, this second one here, because we're going to say it's going to be on the left. So then I want to make a J slider, and we're going to call it number of circles slider equals new J slider. And let's take a look at the options for this here. Right, so technically this is a valid constructor, so it's not going to show the other options, unfortunately. There are other options, and so we're going to use one of those here. So I want it to be horizontal. I want it to have a minimum of 1, a maximum of 10, and I want it to have, oh, here we go. They're popping up now. So these are just the options for what you can do. I think this one might be default true, just specifying it anyways. You can see if that's relevant or not. Number of circles slider dot set major tick spacing, and this is just setting each of those ticks that the little the distance between each of those ticks that you can like actually choose on the slider. So I'm going to set it to 1 just because I want to be able to choose every single value between 1 and 10. And then we have to say number of circles slider dot paint dot set paint ticks true. So if we don't do this, then it's not actually going to make the ticks show up. Okay, and then we're going to do number of circle slider dot set paint labels true, and this is how we make it so that the numbers underneath the ticks show up, so that each tick is labeled. Let's add these both to the main panel of circles. Label first, and then we're gonna add the slider. Okay. Let's also make a button here, and let's call it J button equals to new J button. Let's put text in, and let's just say draw circles. This is just because it's more similar to Bill's project if we have a button that actually does the drawing. In my example, I didn't have this button, but I think it's a better representation if I do. So if I have J, let's see, what else do we need to set for the J button? I don't think we need to set anything else for the time being. So let's just do that here, and then let's just do set visible just to make sure that it's actually showing up. And let's give this a try here. We're going to make a new UI. Typing is hard. Okay, here we go. And let's run it and see if that works out just fine. Okay, awesome. That's exactly what we want, right? So we have a slider here, and we have a draw circles button, and everything is good to go. Okay, let's look at, I don't know why it registers that as a game, but it does. So let's think about what we need to do next. The next thing we need to do is we need to make something to actually draw on, right? So let's make a private class, and we'll just call it like drawing panel extends JPanel. And remember, we need to do all drawing needs to happen by the paint component. So we need to override that. We need to import graphics. Really racist there. Okay, so the first thing you need to do every single time you do this is you need to call super.paintComponent. The next thing we're going to want to do is actually, let's actually put this somewhere, right? So we have this drawing panel, but it's not going to show up anywhere. And let's make sure that's a capital D because naming conventions. So let's actually put this J panel somewhere. And to do that, what I'm going to do is, so before here, I'm going to go ahead and make another J frame. I'm going to call it my drawing frame, okay? And this is what's going to have the drawing panel on it. And so remember, whenever I make a frame is basically the same thing as a window, right? There's a different thing called JWindow, but for all intents and purposes, a frame is a window. So we want to set up the drawing frame in the same way. We want to have it set title, call it display, something like that. And then we'll say drawing frame dot set size, just because we need to have a size. We'll say drawing frame dot set default close operation. Just make it exit on close as well, because it doesn't make sense to have the program running if that window is closed, because then it's not drawing on anything. So let's go ahead and do drawing frame dot set resizable to false as well, just because that would be actually, let's leave that on true. Yeah, because then we can resize it and see the circles if they go off the screen. Let's also do drawing frame equals new. No, not drawing frame equals new drawing frame. We'll say drawing panel equals new drawing panel. And then we'll do a drawing frame dot add drawing panel. Actually, let's do dot set content pane to drawing panel. So dot set content pane just makes it so that the entirety of the content within the drawing frame is going to be drawing panel. So if we take a look at this now really quickly, let's make this visible. So to do that, we're just going to do a drawing frame dot set visible true. And here we go. You can see now we have a second window. We have one called circle slider and one called display. So that is awesome. We are making good progress here. And if I press the X button on this, you can see the whole program closes down exactly how we want. If you want it to do something else, you do have other options here. If you just type in close, you can scroll through and you can see there's 4 options. There's dispose, hide, exit, and do nothing on close. I'd say that probably dispose, hide, and exit are going to be the ones that you're most likely to use over anything. And if you want to see what those do, you can hold Control and click on it, and it'll take you right to the Java doc for that. So that's super neat. So let's see. So the next thing we want to do is when the button is pressed, we want to repaint our drawing panel, right? And repainting just means that the paint component method will be called again. So let's see. We need to find our button. Okay, J button. And let's call that something a little bit better, actually. Let's call that draw circles. Okay. Draw circles dot add action listener. So what we're doing here by adding an action listener is this is basically going to be what is called when the button is pressed, right? That's the action of the button is being pressed. So we're going to say add action listener, and we're going to say new action listener. And this is an anonymous class. You can see IntelliJ automatically just puts everything together for you. This basically just lets you pass in a action without having to make a permanent class for it. So we have this method, and this method is what's going to actually have the action in it. And our action that we want to do is we want to have the drawing panel dot repaint, but drawing panel is not declared at that point, so we need to go down and paste that back right where drawing panel is. So we now have access to drawing panel here, but we don't have access to it up here because drawing panel is set on line 34. So now if we take a look at this, it will run this method. Whenever we press the button, we can test that out really quick. So if we press draw circles, you can see it prints hi to the console. So that is exactly what we want it to do. But now we want to actually draw the circles. So let's think about how we're going to do that. So it's a private class, so it has access to any global variables, right? So let's keep track of a global variable that's just the number of circles. So let's say int circles to paint, and let's have that by default be equal to 1 because that's the default value on this slider here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to say circles to paint is equal to, we need to get the current value of this number of circle slider, right? So we're going to say number of circles slider dot get value. It's that straightforward. That's all you have to do. So let's say we want to print out the number of circles we need to paint here. So we say circles to paint, and we have access to that because this is not a static class. So it has access to the global variables in the wrapper class, kind of, I guess. So now if we say draw circles, we can see I'm not 100% certain why I printed that out so many times. I think it's just because the window kind of freaked out for a moment there. But whenever we press draw circles, it is creating more ones. It's not very clear. Yeah, okay, that's a little bit more clear. There's only 3 that time. So it makes more ones, which is exactly what we want because the slider is 1. And actually, let's see what happens when we change the slider. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of ones. Okay, that's fine. Let's move it to 2, and you can see now it's printing 2. And if we make it 5, and we press the draw circles button, you can see it's making 5, and we can bump that all the way up to 10, and it still works. So that's exactly what we want to do. Now, we need to actually make the circles appear. So let's get rid of this line. And let's do g.setColor to, you can have this be whatever color you want. I'm just going to make it black because that's really easy to see. And then let's say for int I is equal to 1, I is less than or equal to the number of circles. So the number of circles, if we remember, was in circles to paint. And I++, right? Because we want a loop that's just going to run exactly as many times as there are circles. And let's start this at, let's start this at 0. So we're going to say g.draw oval, and that's how you draw circles with the draw oval, and you just keep the width and the height the same. So let's take a look at what these parameters mean. So the x here is going to be the upper left corner of the oval to be drawn. So that means that if you were to draw a box around the oval, that upper left corner, that's going to be the coordinate that we need here. So let's say that that's going to be I times 50. Let's just say that we want every circle to be 50 over. And then let's just have it start a little bit down so we don't overlap with the top there. And let's add, just add 5 pixels so the circle's not touching the edge. And then let's make the height and the width of the circle the same so that it's actually a circle. And let's make it, since we're moving 50 over, let's make the height and width of the circle 50 and 50 so that the circles are just barely touching. And so now if we run that, okay, we can see it starts off with 1 circle. Awesome, that's exactly what we want. And as we move the slider up and press draw circles, it'll draw as many circles as we requested it to. This is 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If we put it up to 10, it'll draw 10. We can resize this window as we want, and the painting is still there. It's just not visible until we make the window the right size. So that is awesome. But here's the cool thing is that we can make this even easier. So instead of having to press the draw circles button, we can add something called a change listener to the slider itself. So if we go ahead and look at the number of circle slider, and we can add a change listener to it. Now, change listener is really similar to an action listener. It's just instead of on the button press, it's going to be on the slider state change, right? And the state is just what value it's at. So we can say circles to paint. And we're adding this to the slider, not to the button, because we want it to detect on the sliders change. So we're going to say circles to paint is equal to number of circles slider dot get value, so that doesn't change. And we're going to say drawing panel. Exactly the same thing here. And if you wanted to, you could put this off into a separate method, but there's no real point in doing that just for the demonstration purposes. But you can definitely do that, and you definitely should, for Bill's project, find some way to not have code duplication, because code duplication is bad. So now you can see all we have to do is wiggle the slider around, and the number of circles on the canvas changes dynamically, which is all we really wanted to do. So that is that. And thank you for watching, and good luck on your project.